everybody, this is Jillian, aka Mrs. BT and Sadie. No funny intro today because we are very tired from packing, so we want to take a moment to say thank you so much to everyone's support over the past 6 years, and especially during the subathon. We would not be able to buy a home without you, and we're really excited.
Yeah, I wasn't going to come up with anything funny anyway. It's Therion P.U.N.K. The best I could do is like, there's a punk in my boot.
Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. You're gonna have to cut me some slack on this one vocally. I threw out my voice at Hartford, I caught con crud, and to make matters worse, I didn't win a single match.
I can see he's not a fan of fun by his mannerisms up there.
Anyway, here's one of the most interesting decks I saw while I was there. P.U.N.K Therion. So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website that everyone's using for their progression series, but you might have missed it's also got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I personally use it to post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now let's take a peek at Therion P.U.N.K. Therion P.U.N.K is actually two different archetypes smooshed together. The first, Therion, is an archetype based around the American Zodiac. I don't mean like Dryden with an AR-15 here. I'm talking about those things you pretend to know about when your wine aunt starts talking to you about your birth chart. The Therions can be summoned by targeting a monster with the same type as them, or another Therion in your graveyard, and each gets both its own effects and the effects of the Therion that's equipped. In most decks, its sole representative is Regulus, an omni-negate for decks on plants or machines. P.U.N.K needs less of an introduction. These neon representations of traditional Japanese performance art were a staple in Halcyon combo decks. They're extremely capable, and they put out a ton of pressure. So what do these two seemingly unrelated archetypes do together? Well, one thing the P.U.N.Ks are great at is summoning Chaos Ruler exactly. This almost guarantees you're able to consistently find Therions to equip, which you can then leverage for the entire line via Lily Borea. From there, you can make powerful rank 8 bosses, high attack negation, or my personal favorite, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, depending on the extenders you've drawn. By using the P.U.N.Ks to leave a Z-Amin on your side of the field, you can easily end on a board of Hulk, Jet Synchron, and Archfiend Abyss, which converts to one of the few remaining Azathoths in the format. With powerful setup plays going first and Therions going second, the deck has both the ability to set up and the ability to push through almost any number of interruptions. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Therions, 3 Lily Borea, which searches a Therion spell trap, 2 King Regulus the Omni, 1 Duke Jewel, which can target a Psychic in graveyard and therefore can play even if you don't have any of the other Therions in rotation, and then 1 apiece of Bull's Ein and Leaper Fam, just 4 names. After that, we've got the P.U.N.K 3 Ogre Dance. This card is a dark, very important to reborn the Chaos Ruler, 3 Foxy Tune, 3 Z-Amin, 1 Dear Note. What an incredibly powerful card. And one of this bad boy, Shark Husai, allows you to fusion summon a P.U.N.K fusion from your extra deck. Routinely, you will get into a scenario where like you open a Foxy Tune and nothing else, and playing 1 copy of this card means that you can special the Z-Amin, search this card, normal it, make the fusion monster, and then summon another Z-Amin and a Dear Note from deck to make your play that way. It's a bit of a garnet, but it really opens up Foxy Tune in terms of starters. After that, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Effect Veiler, playing this over Infip just because it's a light type, and 1 Jet Synchron. It turns out that there were consequences to unbanning this card. After that, we've got 3 copies of Therion Discoliseum, and this card is just unbelievable. I'm truly shocked that they ever printed it. 3 copies of Perpetual Engine, our Grygo system. This card's fantastic, allows you to bin a Therion card to start your plays, or if it's randomly milled off something like a Chaos Ruler, it can get a Therion from your graveyard back into your hand. We're playing 1 copy of Therion's Charge. It's the Therion spell trap that's not named Discoliseum and is okay to draw. 3 Emergency Teleport, 3 Forbidden Droplet, and 1 Called by the Grave. The extra is pretty tight, honestly. The Rising Carp is necessary for the fusion line in case you open Foxy Tune. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity is your end board if you are going first. Yu-Gi-Oh! P.U.N.K Amazing Dragon is a really fantastic tool just for cleaning up board states, as is Psychic and Punisher. Baron to Fleur is exceptionally easy to make in scenarios where Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity isn't fantastic. You can still make this by using the Formula Synchron with a reborn copy of Chaos Ruler. We've got Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which is usually what you're making off of your recurred Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Demonic Dragon, one Formula Synchron. We've got Zeus, we've got the Zombie Vampire. There are a lot of lines in which you either don't have a Dark and have to use this as material for a P.U.N.K Fibrax, or you need a tuner on your side of the field because your opponent has stopped you at some point, and if that has occurred, then the Zombie Vampire is a great way to all but guarantee it. Early versions of this combo always went through the Zombie Vampire. I do not like doing that because there are a ton of decks in the format, chief among them Sword Soul, that really like getting to mill 4 cards off the top of their deck. After that, we've got a Hope Harbinger and a Melee of the Trees. This is a card that does not come up frequently, but when it does, you are very happy to see it. We've got an Access Code Talker, a Unicorn, and a P.U.N.K as well. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Sharks, and I just love this deck so much. Sorry, I should rephrase. I love playing against this deck so much. It just does so little. Our opponent has opened Droll and Lockbird, but we can still make the King Calamity line through that, so I'm just going to show it off here. We're going to begin with a copy of Charge. We'll draw some cards. There's the Droll and Lockbird. No big deal. We have both Foxy Tune and an E-Telly, so we can Foxy Tune for the Deer Note and then use E-Telly to get Ziyaman. We're going to make Chaos Ruler here. Now, the problem with this card is that we can't add any of the cards that we mill off the top, but still not too big of an issue because we do hit a copy of Regulus. We're able to activate the effect of Lilyboria to equip the Regulus, and now we have an Omni for our high impact play. We're going to go P.U.N.K Fibrax into a Jet Synchron, bring back the Chaos Ruler, go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, cycle the Jet Synchron using a cycled copy of Energy Machine, and then pass back to our opponent. Now, a couple of things here. They get to activate one thing because we have to activate Crystron P.U.N.K Fibrax on a new chain. They're going to be able to Cosmic Cyclone our only point of interaction, so they think we'll go for P.U.N.K for a Formula Synchron, then Formula Synchron to draw a card, Formula Synchron to make Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, and its effect to lock the opponent out. They have to pass here. Hilariously, the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity effect can miss timing, so if they have like a Ghost Ogre or something for your Formula Synchron, you're not going to be able to Azathoth them. We're going to go for the effect of the Lilyboria here, just going through the motions, honestly. We're going to activate Ogre Dance in order to get the one P.U.N.K we lack. We will E-Telly out a Ziyaman, then activate the effect we were unable to do last turn. We're going to go for the Foxy Tune here in order to summon from deck another Deer Note. We'll normal summon a Sharakusai, and then go into Amazing Dragon to put that monster back in our opponent's hand. From here, we'll just switch everyone to attack position and get in for lethal. So while the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity line is comically easy, there's also a lot of scenarios in which it doesn't actually win you the game. Case in point, our opponent is playing a deck with trap cards, Dinomorphia. Let's see if we can do it. We're going first. This hand looks fine. We're going to begin with the Therion's Charge, and oh, thank goodness we found a Foxy Tune. So here we're going to go Zayaman. We're going to activate the effect, and because we haven't conducted our normal summon, we can use this Ogre Dance to search for our Fusion Summoner. We're going to go for the effect of our P.U.N.K Sharakusai to make a Rising Carp. Then we'll activate Rising Carp. They'll Ash Blossom. Thankfully, we did draw the Called by the Grave. From here, we can get from our deck a copy of Deer Note and a copy of Zayaman. That's going to allow us to go into Chaos Ruler. We're going to activate the effect of the Chaos Ruler and the Deer Note in Graveyard to bring back the Zayaman, and we will find off the top something. That's enough. We'll go ahead and get an Effect Veiler, then fire off the Disc Coliseum to get a copy of Lilyboria. We'll activate Lilyboria, and we have an Omni for the remainder of the turn. We'll go for Lilyboria here in order to search a Therion spell trap for next turn. We're going to go Crystron P.U.N.K Fibrax in order to get a Jet Synchron. We'll activate the effect of the Chaotic Demonic Dragon in Graveyard, make a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, and do the exact same thing we did last time, cycling a Therion in order to end on our Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. Our opponent's going to go for a Fossil Dig here, and this bodes very poorly for me. I think if they're on Dinosaur, we have just won the game. Not a lot that deck can do through an Azathoth. But if they're on Dinomorphia and we're trying to add a Teresia at hand, we are screwed. And as they set for, I realized it may be the latter. Okay, we're going to try our hardest here. We'll go for Lilyboria. They're going to go for Frenzy. We'll negate with the Lilyboria's equipped Regulus effect, but our opponent is able to activate Domain afterwards. And with the Kentragina on field, they can use the effect targeting the Frenzy that still went to the graveyard to make Rexstrom. Now, Rexstrom is a huge problem for us, a Floodgate monster that prevents us from attacking very hard. We'll go to the battle phase. They'll activate Rexstrom, and unfortunately, we are just going to have to pass here. They Brute at end step, targeting our set card, and Kentragina floats into a Teresia, which allows them to set an additional copy of Alert. Things are not looking fantastic. They're going to go for Alert here, paying 125 life points to reborn the Kentragina, then 62 to cycle it again. We'll get 2 Kentraginas. We're going to activate the Veiler on the Rexstrom, then the Veiler on the chained Rexstrom, so we're not dead this turn, but we are still not in a fantastic position. We can put the Rexstrom back in hand, but I don't know how we're outing these big Kentraginas. We draw for turn. Maybe that'll do it. We're going to activate the aggro system in the graveyard to cycle this copy of Charge. We'll activate Charge, They'll pay 16 for a Solemn Judgment, and then we'll overlay for the Zombie Vampire. Now, we might be able to do it here. We can Duke Jewel to negate the effect, and then they'll Ferret Flames with 8 life points. Okay, we deserve that one. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Sword Soul, and this hand is a little crusty. Double Foxy Tune is not where you want to be, but we can still do it by going Zeyaman into Shirakusai. We have the Called By to stop any hand traps as well. So we're going to begin with a Foxy Tune, pitching a Foxy Tune. We're going to get ourselves a copy of Zeyaman. We'll activate the effect. We're going to get an Ogre Dance to get a Dark into rotation before normal summoning a Shirakusai and activating the effect. We're going to pay 6 to make a copy of Rising Carp, and there's the Infip. Well, I can't Called By an Infip, so best of luck to my opponent. They're going to begin with a Vashutta. They'll summon the Vashutta and go into a Monk of the Tenyi. They're going to Vashutta here, targeting the back row shoot. Afterwards, they can go for a Shunna and then cycle it for a Monk of the Tenyi before normal summoning an Ecclesia. Now, we do have the Ash for that, but they have the Ashana, which means they can go for an Adhara here, and then afterwards make a Shaman of the Tenyi, pitching this Vashutta to cycle the Vashutta, and then making a Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. No Sword Soul stuff, but this is probably still good enough. Sword Soul pilots are very happy to be in this position. They'll pass back to us. We draw for turn. That's a pretty good draw, but unfortunately doesn't stack up very well against Draco Berserker. They're going to chain it as Chainlink 2, banishing our monster. We'll Ogre Dance, which allows us to get a copy of Zeyaman in a hand, but unfortunately we have to concede. Well, that was a quick game 1, but thankfully our game 2 hand is looking a lot better. We're going to activate Foxy Tune in order to send the Lilyboria to the graveyard, which we can then reborn with the Duke Jewel. We'll go for the Duke Jewel and then use the effect of the Lilyboria to search a Therion spell trap. We'll go for the Colosseum here in order to get Regulus, and then Regulus targeting the Lilyboria, so we have an Omni for the remainder of the turn. We'll go for Zeyaman, finally committing to that before going for Ogre Dance in order to get ourselves a copy of Shirakusai. We'll go for Shirakusai, activating the effect, paying 6, and then making Rising Carp. Rising Carp effect, we're going to get a Deer Note and a Zeyaman. This is going to allow us to make Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Demonic Dragon, and the effect of the Deer Note in graveyard will bring back the Zeyaman. We're going to activate Chaos Ruler, milling off the top. Okay, an effect failure is pretty good. We're going to go for a Halka Fibrax here. That's going to summon from deck a Jet Synchron. Afterwards, we'll activate Chaos Ruler. We will bring it to our side of the field before making Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We'll go for the Jet Synchron, and then we'll activate Therion's Charge to draw a couple of cards as well. We're going to cycle 1 card back to our hand and then pass back to our opponent. Feeling pretty good about this one. They'll draw for turn. They're going to begin with a copy of Adhara. They'll summon it to their side of the field. We're just going to Hulk here. We're going to make a Formula Synchron, activate its effect in order to get ourselves a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. They have no response, and so they'll concede. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and this hand is looking pretty interesting. We have an Ash Blossom, which is, of course, quite good. Our opponent's hand is looking pretty good as well. They're going to begin with a copy of Ashana. They're going to summon the Ashana to their side of the field and make a Monk. From here, they can go ahead and activate a Pot of Desires, which we, unfortunately, probably have to Ash. Afterwards, going to normal summon a Sword Soul of Moye, reveal a Worm in their hand, and summon a token. From here, they can go into a Chi-Shao, activating Chi-Shao as Chainlink 1, and Sword Soul of Moye as Chainlink 2, drawing an Ecclesia off the top, and then adding a Long One hand. They will use the Long One, pitching the Ashana, in order to get a token and make Evil Long One. We'll take 12 here, and they're just going to pass turn. That's interesting. We'll draw for turn, and maybe we could do this. We're going to begin with a copy of Foxy Tune. We'll summon a Zeyaman from deck. They'll activate Evil Longwand to banish it. We'll normal summon a Zeyaman. We'll activate the effect, and they will negate it. Oh boy. Okay, well, we can activate the second effect of Foxy Tune to summon itself, tributing the Zeyaman. The Zeyaman will trigger in graveyard, putting it over the Chi-Shao, but we really have no way to clear the Evil Longwand. We'll set 1 card and pass back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn, and Moye off the top. They'll go for a Shana here to get an Adhara into rotation, then they're going to go for a Monk of the Tenyi, activated Adhara, adding back the Ashana, and then from here they can normal summon a Sword Soul of Moye. We'll activate Called By. We're going to take 12 off the Evil Long One here, but still not too big of a deal for our opponent because they can always, at resolution, go into a copy of Shaman. They're going to activate Shaman to bring back the Chi-Shao and proc its effect on attack of the Monk. Good game. So we're back with the deck, and wow, this seems like a clear candidate for top tier. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, the punks are so unbelievably powerful, oh my god. Not only do they consistently put up incredible boards, they also play through so much. Shirakusai specifically is such a cool innovation. 2, the deck's ability to pivot based on mills or because it lacks certain attributes is incredible. Chaos Ruler into Zombie Dragon is really, really amazing. And 3, there is so much room for customization. I would feel good moving like 10 of these cards around based on meta and personal preference. And the cons. 1, so I kind of get why Eminon's build of this deck cut the King Calamity stuff. It actually doesn't win the game a lot of the time. Obviously, Dinomorphia isn't common, but there are a ton of decks happy to wait a turn. 2, there are some weird lines that are not very intuitive. Anytime you need to crack out Melios of the Trees, for instance, things are going to get into unpracticed territory. And 3, as people get more familiar with this deck, they're gonna figure out how to play against it. Different hands have different choke points, but all roads kind of seem to lead to Zeyaman. All in all, the deck looks really, really sick, but time will tell if it's a week 1 Andy or a list with real staying power as the format matures.
you, everyone. Thank you, chat.
Chat, stop talking about my friend's Bussy.